I never imagined a simple act of kindness would lead me to a billion-dollar family secret. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It began with a whisper, someone on the bus seeking help. I stupidly thought a simple touch could change my world. As I reached out, my hand trembling, I had no idea that ripples of fate were setting into motion. The moment she smiled up at me, eyes glimmering, I felt a shift, a daunting pull toward a dark truth waiting to explode. Her name was Clara, an elderly woman with frail bones and delicate skin like parchment. She carried secrets older than the city itself, and that day, as I helped her with her heavy bags, she clutched my arm. "Thank you, dear. You have no idea what you've just done." Her voice wavered, a harbinger of change. That I shrugged, confused. I was just a college student trying to make ends meet, struggling with late-night assignments and the weight of my family's expectations. My father's stern eyes were a constant reminder that success was the only path to love. Mom was always so busy, losing herself in work, trying to pick up the pieces. I feared their disappointment more than anything. As we talked, the sky darkened. Clara spoke of her youth, of old money and high society. Her words flowed like silver threads connecting past to present. I hung on every word, a knot forming in my stomach. She hinted at a hidden treasure buried beneath layers of family lies. Something that could change everything, but just then, a figure loomed. Clara's son, rage etched onto his face, his hands balling into fists. "What are you doing with her?" His voice cut like ice. The love I felt for Clara morphed into panic. I took a step back. "I was just helping," I stammered, my heart racing. A threat hung in the air, raw and bitter. Clara's eyes pinned his. "David, stop. She's kind." I could almost feel the dread washing over me, penetrating the walls I thought were so strong. David glared at me, his disdain palpable. I could hear my own heartbeat thump, thump, thump like a drum announcing my doom. As I turned to leave, Clara murmured, "Find it, my dear." The words whispered like a gentle breeze, yet threatened to pull me into a tempest. What was it? What family secret hid behind her faded smile? Days later, I found myself digging deeper. I had to know. As I flicked through her old photographs, glossy and crumbling, a name sparked in the darkness: Morton. A name that echoed through the ages. My fingers trembled with each photograph, past jammed full of whispers, heartbreak, and intrigue. I felt tinges of excitement brushing against my fear. Could this lead anywhere? Then came the most chilling moment. Hidden beneath the last photograph, I found a crumpled piece of papyrus map. Its corners were frayed, ink splattered as if time had covered it in a shroud of mystery. Suddenly, it became clear Clara's kindness was a doorway. But what lay behind it? Just as the shadows inched closer, I heard a creak behind me. My breath caught in my throat. David's silhouette hovered at the edge of my thoughts, eyes ablaze with anger. I froze, heart racing, knowing that whatever I had unearthed would lead me straight into the fire. Would I uncover a fortune or ignite a family feud? The weight of the map felt like a ticking bomb in my hands. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The shadows loomed larger in my life, draping me with uncertainty as David's presence felt increasingly suffocating. I wanted to bolt, to escape the suffocating grip of the mystery Clara had thrust upon me, yet the whisper of "Find it, my dear," caressed my mind like a haunting lullaby. The act of kindness now felt more like a shackle than a blessing, and as I stood there frozen, I couldn't help but hope for a flicker of warmth amidst the encroaching darkness. David stepped closer, the tension thickening in the air between us. His eyes narrowed, searching, they bore down on the map clasped in my hands, and I felt an invisible battle ragia mixture of defiance and sheer terror. "What are you doing with that?" His voice sliced through the silence, sharp and accusing. It's just something Clara gave me," I replied, the quiver in my voice betraying my composure. "I was trying to help her," I added, hoping to appeal to whatever humanity lingered beneath his surface. "Help her? By snooping around? You're just another meddler trying to dig into things that don't concern you," he spat, disdain dripping from every word. My heart ached at the venom in his voice. I wanted to scream, to tell him that all I wanted was connection, a sense of belonging that had eluded me for so long. Instead, I swallowed hard, retreating further into my own thoughts, the map suddenly feeling more like a hot potato than a treasure, but even in that paralysis of fear, sparks of hope flickered. The memory of Clara's smile ignited my courage far beyond what my feet could take me. "I want to understand her," I found myself saying, surprising even myself with the clarity of my resolve. "Is it so wrong to want to know about someone who has lived so much?" The fire in David's gaze dimmed for a fraction of a second, and for that fleeting moment, I thought I might see a glimpse of familiarity, the hint of a shared connection in the shadows of our lives. Perhaps he, too, was just a player on this unforgiving board of family secrets and unyielding expectations. "Understanding doesn't exist in our family," he finally snapped, crossing his arms defensively. "It's about power, control, survival." The tiniest pang of empathy pierced my heart. How many burdens did David carry? Were we both just pawns, anchored by ties we did not choose? I stepped tentatively closer, unsure of what my next move would be. "Maybe we could learn together," I offered. "There might be a way to help Clara that doesn't have to split us apart." He scoffed, rolling his eyes, jarring me back to reality. "You don't know what you're asking for," he warned, but a shadow of hesitation hung in his voice, a fragility I hadn't expected. A sudden thought struck me: I needed to reach out to Clara, to understand the depths of her words. "I promise to find it. Whatever it is. For her and for you. You might not want it, but it could mean something both to us." I dared to meet his gaze, searching for an ember of connection, but all I found was a chasm deeper than I'd anticipated. With a growl of frustration, he turned and stalked away, leaving me with my racing heart and the weight of the map pressing against my palm. Each step away from me felt like a dismissal, driving home the alienation I had fought through lifelong. Yet, I stood lost in my thoughts, contemplating the secrets that spiraled in my mind like autumn leaves caught in a brisk wind. Days turned into a blurred chaos of researching the name on that crumpled paper. Morton. Mortality hung heavier over the name each time I uttered it. Each revelation dug deeper into the family roots. Clara had hinted at a marble mansion in the outskirts of town, whispers of a hidden inheritance. I pushed through the layers of history, delving deeper into the world Clara once inhabited, and the depth of her struggles with the family legacy. And then there was Clara. My visits became sporadic, whispers of her declining health heavy on my heart. What had begun as kindness from me blossomed into an obligation I never expected. It was on one of those visits that I discovered a small journal lying on the edge of her cluttered table, its spine worn and pages yellowed. In it, Clara had scribbled a patchwork of thoughts, memories, and throughout, a recurring theme emerged: betrayal, family secrecy, echoes of hope. She had yearned for connection in the solitude of her aging heart. It was then that I met Ruth, her nurse, a young woman with kind eyes who saw the shadows in my own. "Clara talks about you," she said one afternoon, a warmth emerging in her smile that felt like sunlight after a storm. "She worries about leaving things untold." "Maybe you'll tell her the things I find," I suggested cautiously. "Give her some closure." Ruth's gaze softened. "Don't just give her closure, give her something to hold on to. Something to believe in. Secrets can bind families, but kindness can break those chains." Encouraged, I took that thought with me as I set out on another trip, driven not solely by Clara's legacy but ignited anew with the flicker of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, I could help tear from the suffocating grip of the past. Yet as I returned, the fragile cocoon of hope was suddenly shattered. Clara's room was quiet, eerily so, and the heartbeats of the walls echoed a loneliness I had never felt before. The nurse stood beside me, her face drained of color. "I'm sorry Clara passed this morning," panic pierced through me. A flood of regret crashed against my chest. The map still clasped tightly in my palm felt like a bitter betrayal, her parting words now felt ominous, the weight of destiny looming like an untold story that I rushed to her bedside, hoping to cling to just one last spark of her essence. Everything felt wrong, dislodged and chaotic, as I reached for the map a bid for connection, but suddenly something in my heart shifted when I felt it slide through my fingers. The map unfurled slowly to reveal a deeper secret, one I knew now would only thrust me further into the depths of the family legacy. Tucked neatly in a corner was another slip of paper, this one containing a name that shattered what little footing I had left, a name I recognized all too vividly. David. My chest tightened as the realization dawned, a terrifying clarity cutting through my soul. This wasn't just a family secret, it threatened to unravel everything I thought I knew about myself. Would I confront David now, this heir to the shadows I was fighting to uncover, or did I now bear the burden of a family curse? As I faced the empty room, engulfed by Clara's absence, I contemplated the twisted thread that had pulled me into this world of darkness. The air felt heavy as I processed the new revelation, a storm of confusion raging within me. Clara was gone, and with her, the warmth of connection I had desperately sought. And yet, in my grief, a deeper trepidation bubbled to the surface. David was woven into this tapestry of secrets in a way I hadn't anticipated. Would confronting him only deepen the chasm I had tried so hard to bridge? The weight of the map felt unbearable in my hands, now less a guide and more an anchor pulling me toward turbulent waters. I left the room, stumbling through the wide, sterile corridors of the hospital. Each step echoed Clara's absence, the emptiness reverberating with memories that felt both near and impossibly distant. Ruth caught up with me, concern clouding her features. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. "Clara, she's gone," I managed, the words an echo of reality I couldn't yet accept. "That I am so sorry." Her voice was a balm, yet it only amplified my ache. "It's a terrible loss," that I nodded, still grappling with the map's revelation. "Thank you for being here. I think I need to go now." As I exited the hospital, a faint drizzle began to fall, merging seamlessly with the tears that escaped my control. The skies mirrored the storm inside me. I wandered without purpose, feeling like a ghost haunting my own life, until finally, desperation pulled me toward the one person who could possibly help me make sense of this newfound complexity, David. Every corner of my mind screamed against the decision, urging me to turn back to bury the shadows beneath a blanket of ignorance. But Clara had urged me to seek the truth, and that truth now seemed inextricably linked to David. If he was as involved as the slip of paper suggested, he might hold the key to unraveling the intricacies of Clara's world and, perhaps, redeeming my own. That I arrived at his family's estate as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows that danced like ominous specters. The once grand structure loomed tall, an edifice of polished resolve masking the tumult within. I hesitated before the massive oak door. Should I even be here? After all, our last interaction had been a clash of misunderstanding and animosity. Suddenly, the door creaked open, revealing David, the tension of his face hinting at surprise mingled with something deeper, perhaps fear or recognition. His brows knitted together as he studied me, his presence almost palpable in the damp evening air. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice curt yet betraying a flicker of vulnerability that I swallowed hard, my heart racing. "I found something. I think it's important." I held out the map, letting it dangle between us like a bridge I dared to build. His gaze flicked from the map to my face, hesitation lacing his features. "That?" he scoffed, bitterness creeping in. "You're still pursuing this rabbit hole. Clara is gone, and I can't run from it," I replied, my voice steadying with each word. "But there's something you need to know." His ice-blue eyes bore into mine, clearly grappling with my determination. "You think this will lead you to some grand understanding? To closure?" "It won't. Secrets like those only bring more pain, perhaps, but they also bring truth," I countered, my heart brimming with defiance. "You're a part of this, David. Whether you like it or not. You're a part of her story." Something flickered in his eyes, a recognition of the bond we shared, forged in the fires of hidden legacies and unresolved conflicts. What do you expect from me? He demanded, his voice rising slightly, but I could sense a fracture in his armor. Help me understand. Help us both understand. In that tense moment between us, I sensed a shift. He looked away, as if searching for words that eluded him. The cool night air settled around us, wrapping us in a cocoon of shared pain and tentative hope that I can't change the past, he whispered, finally meeting my gaze again, vulnerability etched on his face. But perhaps I can help you face it if that's what you really want. Before I could respond, a shrill noise shattered the stillness, a phone ringing insistently. David pulled his phone from his pocket, his expression narrowing as he answered. I could sense a change as he listened, tension swirling thickly around us. Tonight? Are you sure? He replied, voice laced with urgency. Whatever he was hearing sent a fresh wave of worry washing over him that I caught snippets of his conversation, dread curling in my stomach. He hung up abruptly, turning toward me with an expression I had never seen before, one that mingled with fear and determination. I have to go. There's something happening. Something important. I echoed, my heart pounding. What could possibly be more important than this? More than you know, he replied. I need you to trust me. I'll explain everything later. Just stay out of this. For your own safety. With that, he stepped back, the door threatening to close before I could understand what lay in the balance. Wait! I called, panic rising. The shadows outside seemed to deepen as he vanished behind the door. There was a gut-wrenching silence, leaving only the uncertainty lingering like smoke in the in that abandoned hallway. I felt the weight of Clara's legacy pressing down once more. It wasn't just about understanding her story anymore. It was about survival, and the secrets of the Mortons entangled my path in ways I hadn't anticipated. Perhaps I had ventured too far down this road, or perhaps I had only just begun to scratch the surface. That in a world driven by hidden truths, would I ever truly be free? A new, daunting reality lurked ahead, and instead of answers, the darkness threatened to engulf me once more. I stood on the precipice of a revelation that could shatter everything I thought I knew, my heart racing in the silence as the shadows deepened around me. The chill of the night air seeped through my skin as I paced outside the Morton estate, grappling with the abruptness of David's departure. A cocktail of emotions brewed within me: rage, confusion, and an insistent longing for clarity. Each breath felt heavy, a reminder of the weight I now carried: Clara's absence, David's enigmatic warning, and a map that had become a harbinger of truths I hadn't been ready to face. The shadows lengthened, and I leaned against the cold stone wall, my mind racing. I should have felt fear at the revelation that awaited me, but all I could think of was how intertwined our destinies seemed. David was more than just Clara's brother, he was a key to my understanding, perhaps even my salvation. But would he ever return? As I stood there, a flicker of movement caught my eye, and I turned to see an old woman approaching. She shuffled along the path, her frail frame wrapped in layers of worn clothing that told stories older than the estate itself. Her silver hair shimmered faintly in the dying light, and her hands, gnarled and shaking, clutched a small bouquet of wilted flowers. Evening, dear, she croaked, her voice crackling like the leaves beneath her feet. What brings you to these parts so late? Her gaze pierced through the fog of my confusion, and I felt an unexpected warmth radiate from her presence. I am looking for answers, I replied, feeling foolishly exposed under her scrutiny. Answers? She questioned, a knowing smile curling her lips. Sometimes, those we seek answers from are veiled in their own stories. You won't find it all laid bare. She nodded toward the estate. But I can tell you this, even in the darkness, there's light to be found. She extended the wilted bouquet toward me, a peculiar offering. Take these. They may look lost, but every petal tells of resilience. Even the broken ones have beauty. That I hesitated, conflicted by the gesture and its implications. Why would you give these to me? Because kindness costs nothing, but it can be the spark that ignites hope, she said, her eyes softening with understanding. Hold on to it, child. You'll need it in the days to come. There was something about her words that washed over me, a fleeting comfort as I accepted the wilting flowers, my fingers brushing over the brittle petals. Thank you, I murmured, feeling a strange connection to her wisdom and her struggle, intertwining like the flowers in my hand. As she shuffled away, a thought took root within me: perhaps I didn't need to wait for David to uncover the truth. If Clara's life taught me anything, it was that shadows could harbor secrets, but they could also reveal unexpected fractures in the darkness. My heart longed to be illuminated, to embrace clarity over confusion. That I checked my phone, a flicker of hope igniting as I remembered the contact information Clara had scrawled hastily on the back of the map. The handwriting was shaky, but the names were clear. Maybe, just maybe, the people connected to her could provide threads to weave this tapestry back together. That I made my way through the night, guided by the streetlights that flickered like stars above. The flowers nestled protectively in my bag, a reminder of the possibility of kindness amid chaos. Each step felt heavy, yet grounded. I was not alone in this journey of discovery. That I arrived at a small cafe, barely illuminated through the glass windows, the kind of place where whispers shared over coffee could echo for lifetimes. The faded sign above the door read "Brood Awakenings." It seemed like the perfect haven for seekers like me. As I approached the counter, an older man with thinning hair and laughter lines greeted me. His smile radiated warmth, as if he understood the weight I was carrying long before I spoke. "What can I get for you, dear?" "Coffee, strong please." "And do you know Clara Morton? Or perhaps someone who does?" I felt the urgency in my voice, desperate to stir the currents of fate in my favor. The smile faltered slightly, and the man's gaze grew serious. "Clara? She was a kind soul, always brightening our days." He paused, studying my face as if searching for a deeper truth. "What do you want to know about her? I need to understand everything. Her secrets, her family. I just found out she's gone." The admission felt raw and exposed, but it tumbled from my lips like a beacon into the abyss. The man leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Secrets can be dangerous, especially within the Morton family. What you find may not just affect you, it could ripple through generations. That I am willing to take that risk." The resolve washed over me as I remembered the old woman's gift, how hope could intertwine with despair. That he studied me for a moment longer, then nodded. "All right. But meet me after closing, and I'll share what I know. Clara may have left behind some threads worth following, but tread carefully. Her family's history is a labyrinth." Acquiescing to a silent agreement, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. It was a small yet vital connection in this web of uncertainty, a doorway opening amidst my chaos. As he busied himself with other customers, I sank into a chair, breathing in the aromas wafting from the kitchen. The flickering candle on the table provided a small glow of reassurance in the gathering gloom outside. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, breaking the spell. I glanced down to see an incoming message from an unexpected number: "Stay away from David. It's not safe." A shiver ran through me, and my heart raced anew. A warning or a threat? A small moment of kindness had led me to unexpected dangers I hadn't anticipated. The lingering warmth of the wilted flowers in my bag felt like a fragile promise against an encroaching wave of turmoil. The labyrinth was deepening, and I could no longer ignore the reality that the twists and turns might lead me further into darkness than I had ever intended. The cafe buzzed with the soft chatter of patrons, but I was lost in the turmoil of my thoughts. The message flickered in my mind like a warning siren. I could hear the old woman's soothing voice, reminding me of resilience and light. Yet, this new directive felt like a shadow, threatening to obscure the glimmer of hope I had found. That I glanced around the room, noting the way the light danced off the faces of people lost in their own worlds, and I felt an aching isolation. Everyone seemed to carry their burdens silently, just as I did. The message had ignited an ember of anxiety within me. Who sent it? How did they know I was looking for David? I needed answers, but uncertainty clouded my path. The man behind the counter rolled out trays of pastries, sweet cinnamon rolls, his specialty. He looked up and caught my eye, his presence subtly grounding. "You all right, dear?" he asked, concern lacing his tone. "Just a bit overwhelmed," I admitted, trying to piece together my fragmented thoughts. It was a strange comfort to share the weight, however small. He nodded knowingly, perhaps too knowingly. The world has a way of shifting beneath our feet when we're least prepared, doesn't it? Just remember, it's okay to seek help. Not all burdens are meant to be carried alone. I offered him a faint smile, finding solace in his kindness. In an instant, I felt the tight grip of loneliness loosen, the tension in my chest easing slightly. "Thank you," I whispered, taking a deep breath, then I remembered my connection to Clara. The names on the back of the map transformed into lifelines, each potential meeting weaving a thread of connection to her. I could reach out to them, piece by piece, to understand the intricate tapestry she had left behind, her family dynamic, her secrets, the truth she carried in her heart. As the minutes rolled by, I examined the wilted bouquet snugly rooted in my bag. Each fragile flower seemed to pulse with a heartbeat of its own, symbolic of vulnerability amidst turmoil. I leaned forward, drawing on an unexpected reservoir of courage. Perhaps these delicate remnants could inspire me to confront the unknown. The cafe filled with the aroma of fresh coffee and baked goods, and I scribbled down a plan, notes drifting like leaves in the somber winter. I would reach out to Clara's old friends, her previous co-workers, anyone who could unveil the secrets that lay beneath the surface. The gravity of my commitment to deciphering her story relaxed my tight shoulders. The bell above the door jingled, and my gaze roamed to the entrance. A woman stormed in, her features a mask of urgency. I saw a flash of recognition in her eyes, followed by a momentary crease of confusion as her gaze landed on me. I felt a compelling pull towards her, the air thick with an unspoken connection. There was something in her stance familiar and achingly reminiscent of Clara. She strode to the counter with determination, ordering a coffee to go while I stared, caught between curiosity and the unsettling notion that this moment was tremendous. As she turned to leave, something stopped her. She glanced back, studying me closely, and then, with a flicker of hesitation, she approached. "Are you looking for Clara Morton?" Her voice was steadier than she appeared. "I am," I said cautiously, feeling the intensity of the moment. "Did you know her?" Her face fell, a shadow pulling at her features. "Yes. I did. I have things to tell you, but they're not easy." She shifted her weight, glancing at the door as if expecting an interruption. Just as I was about to respond, my phone buzzed again, another ominous message lighting up the screen. "You're digging in the wrong place. Stop while you can." My heart plunged. Who was behind this? I looked up to find the woman's gaze locked onto mine, tinged with sympathy and urgency. "We need to talk." "Not here." A silent understanding passed between us, urgency tangling with my mounting fear, but I was at a crossroads. To walk away from this moment meant turning my back on potentially vital information about Clara and the woven threads connecting her to my unraveling world. "Meet me back here tomorrow," I blurted out, surprising myself with my own insistence. "I have questions, things I need to understand." She hesitated, concern flashing in her eyes as she weighed the implications of my request. But just before she could respond, the bell jingled again, and several men in dark suits strode inside, their demeanor ominous, scanning the room with intent. The woman's expression morphed into one of stark realization, her deep-set fears coming to life. "Tomorrow then," she whispered, before swiftly exiting the cafe, the chance at answers slipping through my fingers. The men took seats, their presence like heavy clouds darkening an already tumultuous sky. I could feel their eyes darting toward me intermittently, and dread coiled tight in my gut. Panic clashed with determination as I clutched the wilted flowers tightly, feeling both fragile and defiant that I had entered a labyrinth of whispers and shadows, where every word could resonate into a cacophony of truth or destruction. And as I prepared to leave, the weight of the flowers felt like a countdown, an impending storm brewing close by, warning me that whatever lay ahead would change everything. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of lavender and gold, but the beauty failed to seep into my heart. I stood outside the cafe, my mind racing with what had just transpired. The words of the woman lingered in the air, vibrating with possibility and dread. Clara's friends might hold the key to unearthing layers of truth, but the chilling message on my phone gnawed at me like a wild animal. "Stop while you can." I drew a shaky breath, searching for the courage to tackle the unknown. I glanced back inside, where the men in suits were deep in conversation, their solemn faces seemingly devoted to plotting something darker than just a casual discussion over coffee. I threaded my fingers through the delicate petals of the bouquet in my bag, wishing I had the comfort of a more traditional toquina sturdy rock to lean against rather than the fragility of flowers that were teetering towards decay. With the remnants of courage still flickering, I took a step away from the cafe, but not without a heaviness in my heart. Every instinct screamed for me to reach out to the woman again, to demand answers. But the shadows looming over my path felt more menacing than ever, pushing anxiety deep into my bones. Would I be putting myself in danger by pursuing this? Clara's thread of truth had pulled me deeper, weaving a complex pattern that threatened to unravel at any moment. I walked down the street in a daze, my surroundings fading into a blur. The streetlights flickered on, casting tonal shadows against the pavement. Each footfall echoed the rising storm of confusion within me, yet as I hailed a cab, hope flickered through the cracks of despair. I could focus on the mystery, the delicate exploration of Clara's past, rather than the threat hovering like a vulture overhead. I leaned back, senses still heightened, and pulled out my phone to look through my notes once more. That I mustered enough bravery to reach out to the names on the map I had compiled, casting a net into the vast unknown. Hours passed as I sent messages that felt as precarious as throwing paper boats into an unpredictable sea. Replies were sparse, threading their way back through the darkness. The responses I did receive were cautiously composed, reminding me that resurrecting the past came with risks. Some stories were buried for reasons beyond mere forgetfulness. Sleep eluded me that night, the weight of impending dread wrapped around me like a heavy shroud, suffocating in its intensity. I rolled over again and again, replaying every glance, every word exchanged with the woman in the cafe. I wondered if she would show up the next day. Had she seen something in me that I had missed? Morning dawned gray and rainy, mirroring the heaviness in my chest. I dressed with intent but felt as though each piece of clothing draped over me like a lead blanket. With every tick of the clock, the minutes crawled and the anticipation gnawed at my insides. What was it about Clara Morton that had this woman so shaken? What secrets did she carry? I arrived at the cafe early, claiming a table in the corner while nursing a cup of lukewarm tea. The rain drummed softly against the windows, an insistent reminder of the urgency I felt. A sense of isolation descended in layers, each sip of tea doing little to thaw the icy grip tightening my chest. Time stretched as I scanned the door, the bell chiming in an almost mocking rhythm. I clenched the bouquet tighter, my fingertips brushing against the softness of the petals, craving their fragility to ground me as I faced uncertainty alone. And then, she slipped through the door, her presence a rush of both comfort and anxiety. The woman, whose name I still didn't know, carried an umbrella, droplets cascading from its edges like unspoken words. She soaked in the cozy atmosphere of the cafe, seemingly relieved to find shelter from the storm outside. I stood, my heart racing anew as she caught sight of me. "That I am glad you came," I said earnestly, only to be swallowed by the tension that radiated off her. She nodded, the initial warmth replaced by a wary urgency. "I barely made it. Ithery's something you need to know." The gravity of her tone sent a chill spiraling down my spine. "Is it about Clara?" I whispered, desperate for answers. "Yes." Her words hung in the air like lead. "But it's dangerous." I only heard whispers, but they're enough to raise the dead. I edged closer, the intensity of her gaze pulling me in, nodding my focus. "Tell me. Please." She glanced toward the door, her expression like a marionette strings pulling tight. "You can't trust anyone. There are people who are watching, people connected to Clara that want to keep her past buried." Just as I opened my mouth to question further, a figure loomed at the entrance of the cafe. A familiar face stepped through the door, a man I never expected to see. My heart sank, recognition washing over me but leaving a bitter taste behind. That it was David. My breath hitched, part fear and part disbelief, as David strode confidently into the cafe. His presence sent an electric jolt through me, shattering the fragile moment I was sharing with the woman. What was he doing here? The last time we spoke, the air had been thick with unresolved tensions. It ended with heated words and my determination to sever ties. "David," I managed to utter, though it came out almost as a gasp. His eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, the world around us dulled into silence. The woman stood frozen beside me, uncertainty etched across her features. Did David recognize her? "Hey," he said, his tone laced with an unexpected warmth that felt foreign to the distance he had cultivated in the past. "Fancy seeing you here." The casual delivery felt jarring against the urgency hanging in the air. This as my thoughts scrambled for coherence. The last thing I wanted was to invite him into this burgeoning chaos. The woman beside me cleared her throat. "I can wait outside if no," I interrupted, desperation clawing at my insides. "Stay." I felt her stiffen beside me, shock evident on her face. She probably comprehended what I didn't dare to vocalize. David was a complication, a loose thread that could either draw me back into the warmth of his embrace or tangle up the truth I desperately needed to unearth. "Can we have something important to discuss?" and I gestured toward the coffee-stained table laden with remnants of patience and uncertainty. He frowned, stepping closer, his brow furrowing for a brief moment that reminded me of why I once fell for him. "What's on your mind? You look stressed, let's sit." I motioned toward the table as though inviting him into a war room. The tension draped heavily, and he obliged, sliding into the seat across from me. The woman hovered uncertainly, clearly caught in a converging storm. She began, but the tug of urgency gripped me harder. "Please, I need to know whether you can trust him," I blurted, eyes flicking between them. "This is complicated. We're talking about Clara." David's expression shifted instantly, confusion morphing into concern. "Clara? What does she have to do with this?" An ember of fear sparked in my chest. "She's connected to something dangerous. Something you might not understand. Try me." The woman steadied her breath, narrowing her eyes at David as if to evaluate him through an invisible lens. "You can't trust him, not with anything regarding Clara," she warned. My heart hammered in response to the escalating tension. All I wanted was to uncover the truth, but here I was thrust into a web of deception, sorrow, and entangled relationships. "Why?" David asked, his voice steely now, the light moments abandoned. "Because," I interjected, feeling helplessly pulled between their guardedness. "Because I think Clara left behind more than just memories." "What if she buried secrets? Secrets that could threaten lives?" The woman shifted slightly, as if grappling with unspoken truths, the weight of her history crushing the air around us. She glanced at David again, apprehension dancing on her features. "We have to tread carefully. I've seen the lengths people will go to. You can't just dive into this." But David cut her off, his tone rising sharply, fraying at the edges. "I haven't lived my life in fear. I want to know what's going on. If Clara is a connection, I need to understand that." As he spoke, my mind spiraled back to the warnings I had received. I could practically feel eyes lurking in the shadows, bearing down on this fragile meeting. "David, please," I implored, my voice breaking. "You don't know what you're asking for. These aren't just whispers. We're standing on a thin layer of ice that could crack at any moment." The digital chime of my phone sliced through our brewing storm, drawing all gazes. Glancing down, my stomach dropped. A message blinked ominously on the screen. "I know you're getting close. Better stop before it's too late." I glanced up sharply, meeting the woman's eyes, which now brimmed with shared fear, and David, frustrated and confused, shifted back in his chair, the anger melting away into concern for me. "What is it?" he asked, urgency leaching into his voice. Torn between the urgency of the warning and the growing intensity of emotions erupting in that moment, I felt the walls closing and the stakes were higher than ever before. Was the danger too real to ignore? As those words hung among us, the cafe's door swung open, and another familiar face emerged from the rain-soaked storm outside, Clara's best friend, Vera. The last piece of the puzzle I hadn't accounted for had just stumbled into an already turbulent tempest. "Just what are you all doing here?" she asked, her eyes darting suspiciously between the three of us, and with that, I knew that the unraveling was only just beginning. The cafe's atmosphere thickened, and the mural of familiar comfort that wrapped its walls began to suffocate under the tension. Vera's startling entrance felt like a jolt from the universe, and I could sense the shifting dynamics in the air as she locked eyes on me, her expression oscillating between confusion and concern. "What's going on?" she demanded, her voice steady yet demanding, as if she could dissect the emotions hanging over the table like a thick fog. The woman beside me shifted again, the weight of secrets threatening to crush her. I opened my mouth to respond, but words tangled in my throat, catching like fish on a line. The urgency of my previous message clawed at my mind, pushing me deeper into a whirlpool of fear and trepidation. Could I trust this gathering of souls with Clara's truth? Vera folded her arms and stood her ground, a fierce protector even when her own heart likely trembled. "If this is about Clara, you all need to talk." She fixed her gaze pointedly on David. "But be careful what you're after. You have no idea the lengths people go to protect what they think belongs to them." "Clara," I implored, urgency surging through me. "Clara left something behind, and if we don't act, and what exactly did she leave?" Vera cut in, narrowing her eyes. "Was it just memories, or is it more than that?" I hesitated, the pulse of doubt quickening behind my ribs. Would sharing the truth scare them off or draw them in? Their expressions were a mix of intrigue and skepticism, and my heart pounded louder, echoing my fears of the consequences that lay ahead. "Clara was intertwined with more than her friendships," I finally breathed. "It's about family, her family. There are things hidden in shadows. Things, dangerous things." David leaned forward, capturing my attention as if trying to peer into the abyss of my thoughts. "What if Clara's connection to those secrets makes her a target?" His voice lowered, laced with a new determination. "We can't let fear govern our actions. We need to unearth whatever she buried." Together, the plan hung in the air, tangled and uncertain. Yet, the flicker of hope nestled itself within me at his words, an unexpected kindness that felt powerful. It made way for a possibility I hadn't dared to entertain, the chance of facing whatever haunted Clara's past alongside him. "Should we go?" the woman beside me asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if she feared drawing attention from unseen forces lurking around us. "We shouldn't linger." "Wait," I said as panic shot through me. A sudden thought darted into my mind, a memory of Clara laughing, a hint of sunlight illuminating her face. "There's something at her old apartment. Something we need to find." "Her apartment?" Vera's brow furrowed. "That place has been abandoned. Are you sure it's safe?" "Safe or not, we need to go. If there's a chance we can find the truth about Clara, we can't hesitate." I looked at David, and there was an understanding between us, an unspoken alliance forged through the lingering pain of the past. "Fine, let's do this," David nodded, the weight of resolve settling on his shoulders. "But we should stick together. We'll need to be cautious." With our intentions set, we stepped out into the pallid light of the rainy day, each droplet splattering against the pavement like the echo of our anticipation. The air outside was thick with the smell of wet earth and impending revelations. As we headed toward Clara's old apartment, I felt the fevered pulse of our collective emotions: agitation, fear, budding hope, creating an intense energy that made the world around seem too bright, too vivid, too alive. But with every step I took, the shadows grew heavier, and the reminder of the warning echoed in my mind: "I know you're getting close. Better stop before it's too late." Who had sent it? The identity remained cloaked in anonymity, but the threat loomed over us like a blemish on the horizon. When we finally reached the building, Vera paused, casting furtive glances down the deserted street. "Let's be quick, then, before someone knows we're lingering here," she warned. Each creaky step up to the third floor felt like we were probing deeper into Clara's hidden life, into a labyrinth that promised danger but also whispered of beautiful truths. As we stood in front of her apartment door, the air stilled, pregnant with potential. The dim light streamed in through the grimy window, casting shadows that danced in anxious anticipation, mirroring the emotions within me. With a shaky breath, I reached for the doorknob, hesitating briefly. I didn't know what awaited us inside, nor what danger loomed just beyond our threshold. The potential for discovery felt simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. As I turned the knob and pushed the door open, the sudden creaking startled us all, but I stepped inside, the faint scent of dust and forgotten memories filling the air. But as we crossed the threshold, a flicker from the far corner caught my eye, a dim light flickering like a heartbeat, somehow still alive amidst the static of time. With breathless anticipation, I stepped further into the apartment, feeling the weight of my choices settle upon me like a heavy cloak. What lay beyond that light would change everything, and as I peered closer, the haunting whisper of the past brushed against my skin. Then came the unexpected sound of a soft, mechanical beep, a voice from a hidden device crackling to life behind a carefully closed drawer. I know you've come looking for answers. But some truths were buried for a reason. And all at once, the ground felt like it might give way beneath us, the electric tension heralding the storm of secrets about to be unleashed. The dim light flickered erratically as I stood frozen, rooted in place, my heart racing. Had we truly crossed the threshold into a world we never understood, a world filled with Clara's untold stories and buried secrets? The mechanical voice continued, unsettling yet undeniably captivating. You think you're ready for what's coming, but be warned, knowledge carries consequences. What the hell? David murmured, glancing nervously around the room as if danger lurked behind every corner. Where's that sound coming from? Vera stepped closer to me, her expression taut with concern. We need to find that device, and fast. It might hold the key to what Clara was trying to protect. The urgency in her voice pushed me into motion, and I darted toward the source, my spirit intertwining with both excitement and dread. The apartment felt heavier, thick with memories and dust. In the corner of the living room, I spotted the drawer, a decrepit relic half open, revealing an array of scattered papers and a small device nestled amongst the cracks. The flickering light pulsed again, almost rhythmically, as if responding to my presence. I reached out, hesitant but compelled, and pulled the drawer fully open. Vera crouched beside me, her sharp eyes scanning the remains of Clara's life. There have to be more clues here, she urged, but I found myself drawn to the device. It was a voice recorder, a small black box with a worn-out label that read Clara's last words. That I hesitated. Do you think should we play it? Everything she left behind could matter, David replied. This could either clear the way or complicate things, but we owe it to her to listen. As I pressed the button, the device whirred to life, and Clara's voice spilled through the silence, rich and resonant despite having been dormant for so long. If you're hearing this, then something has happened to me. I wish I could be there with you. I need you to know. The words trembled in my chest, laced with an urgency that transported me back to moments spent laughing over coffee and sharing dreams. The weight of each syllable seemed to grip every corner of the apartment. I've hidden something critical in a place where the truth intersects with the past. You must promise me you will protect it. Because if anyone else finds it. And with that, the recording cut abruptly, the silence that followed echoing louder than the message itself. My heart sank. What had she meant? What truth was worth protecting, and from whom? Would we be exposed to dangers we had no idea existed? An overwhelming sense of vulnerability washed over me as I collected myself. What did she do? What did she hide? I looked to David and Vera, desperate for reassurance. Instead, I only saw questions reflected in their wide eyes. We need to find this intersection she spoke of, David urged, a hint of determination breaking through the haze of uncertainty. It sounds like it could be related to her family, and whatever she buried, we might be able to uncover. But we have to be on guard. We must take her warning seriously. Right, I breathed, feeling adrenaline surge through me. But how do we even begin to piece this together? I glanced at the scattered papers in the drawer, each one an echo of Clara's life, a chapter written yet unfinished. Let's divide up, Vera suggested, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around us. You both check the papers. They'll look for more recordings or anything that might lead us to whatever she kept hidden. I nodded, propelled by a newfound collaboration that bound us together in this dark journey. As we worked side by side, the connections between us tightened. Moments of kindness exchanged, David offering a reassuring smile, Vera commenting gently on snippets of Clara's dream scribbled on crumpled corners of paper reminded me that hope can rise even from despair. Then, from the shifting shadows near the window, a chilling sound punctured our fragile moment, the creak of the hallway door opening. Our hearts stopped, apprehension coursing through us. Had someone followed us? The tension was palpable, thick enough to taste, as we shared startled glances. Someone's here, David whispered, a protective stance forming around us. "Hide!" Vera hissed, rushing to the side of the room, seeking solace behind the curtain. I stumbled back toward the drawer, hand reflexively brushing against the voice recorder in the chair, adrenaline now rushing in thrumming waves, time stretched as we held our breath, hearts pounding in sync, waiting for the unknown intruder to reveal themselves. Then we heard a voice deep, unfamiliar, yet laced with authority. "I know you're in there. Clara's secrets end here." With those words, the storm we had sought to unearth threatened to engulf us entirely. The voice echoed through the small apartment like a death knell, chilling me to the bone. I felt the life drain out of the air, and the whispers of courage I had clung to began to dissipate, leaving behind only dread. "We can't let them find us," I whispered to David and Vera, panic gripping my heart as I searched for an escape route. "Stay quiet and don't move," David replied, his voice a low murmur, a call for calm amidst the storm. I caught a glimpse of Vera's terrified face. She was pressed against the wall, eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. The fragile threads of our alliance hung in the balance, and as I crouched behind the chair, my fingers still gripping the recording device, I felt an impulse surge within me. In a moment of frantic inspiration, I turned the device off and carefully slid it back into the drawer. "If this man finds it, he'll realize we uncovered Clara's truth." My voice trembled with urgency. "We can't let that happen." The footsteps grew nearer, a heavy tap that felt reminiscent of thunder rumbling in the distance, heralding danger. Clara was a fool to think she could hide from me. The man's voice sounded closer now, laced with venom. My breath hitched. Was this someone who had been hunting her for her secrets all along? I glanced at David, and a flicker of understanding passed between us. We had to work together to outsmart this man. The door to the hallway creaked open further, revealing the towering figure standing just outside. A chill coursed through me. This was no ordinary visitor. The shadow cast by his form swept across the room like a dark omen. The threat was both palpable and suffocating. Then it happened just as I felt the frantic pulse of discovery urging me to act. Vera reached for the window, trying to pull the curtain aside for a glimpse of our would-be captor. The rustling drew his attention, and I felt my heart plummet. David motioned for her to be still, his eyes narrow with a mix of fear and determination. "Who's there?" The man barked, his voice rumbling with authority. "I know you're hiding." Before I even registered what I was doing, I darted toward the half-open door, breath held tight in my lungs. "No!" David cried out, but it was too late. The darkness of the hallway beckoned, and I slipped into the shadows, knowing that if we were to outmaneuver him, I had to create a distraction. "Show yourself." The man commanded, his tone laced with impatience and anger. As I ducked into the space of the hallway, my pulse quickened, each thump echoing with urgency. I could feel David and Vera holding their breath back in the apartment, the tension like an electric current in the air. I had to think fast. I couldn't let him get his hands on Clara's secrets. "Come with me if you want to keep your precious Clara's memory safe." The man's voice boomed through the apartment as he stepped inside, searching every corner. My mind raced. I needed to lead him away long enough for them to escape. I needed to lure him a tempting bait. My heart pounded like war drums as I heard him shuffle back inside, a silent war waging within me between self-preservation and the urgency to save Clara's legacy. In a sudden burst of adrenaline, I dashed up the emergency staircase at the other end of the hallway, feeling the heavy thud of footsteps pursuing me. "You can't hide!" he shouted, a wave of righteous fury chasing me closer to the roof. At the top, I skidded to a halt and emerged into the rain-soaked night. An unexpected escape. The distant city lights glistened, illuminating the treacherous path ahead. I turned and glimpsed the man cornering the staircase. I had only moments. Leaping onto the rooftop, my heart raced as I hurriedly dashed across the surface, the slippery tiles testing my balance. Below, the street spread out like a tapestry, but the man's shadow loomed ever closer. He wouldn't stop until he found me. "Better show yourself now." His growl pierced through the rain. I spotted a narrow ledge toward the edge of the Buldinga leap that could either save me or end it all. There was no time to think. I made the leap and felt the rush of adrenaline propel my body forward, my heart pounding with the hope of escape. As my feet landed for a moment's breath before a tight grasp of fear suffocated me, I managed to pull myself up just as his shadow loomed behind. "Where are you?" he bellowed, the fury in his voice reverberating. From the edge of the rooftop, I peered back down to see David and Vera standing, their faces pale with disbelief. "What are you doing?" David shouted, the panic echoing in his voice. "Go. Get out of here." I pointed toward the stairwell, urging them onward even as my heart ached for them to stay. "To the man," I shouted, "you think you can intimidate me? Clara left a legacy worth protecting." The challenge rattled in the air like a declaration of war. And in that moment between words and actions, I realized, I was not just Clara's link. Her spirit coursed through me, resilient, fierce, driven by love for a life that demanded to be unveiled. That I felt a tidal wave of fear for the danger I was in, yet I also felt emboldened, liberated. "You can't take what isn't yours," I yelled defiantly to him, my voice ringing clear as the rain poured down. "Oh, but I will," he roared back, sending a shiver racing through me, but I refused to yield. A burst of energy surged through me, lighting the tendrils of bravery that had been fragile during this entire ordeal. And just as he lunged forward, I felt hands reach from behind me. David and Vera had come up after all. In a whirlwind of solidarity, they were there, and in that moment, we formed a protective barrier against the truth concealed in shadows. Together we stood united, and it felt like a wildfire had ignited inside of me, driven by the shared determination to save Clara's legacy. "This is ours now," David shouted, his voice slicing through the rain. The man faltered, the sudden realization dawning in his eyes that we had forged a bond over this journey. Surrounded by the echoes of Clara's warmth, the darkness that threatened to swallow us grew faint, and then, I could see a flicker of light dancing behind the clouds, dawning hope spilling over the roof, merging with the light drizzle reflecting our resolve. As the man clenched his fists, eyes filled with fury, realization washed over him. It was time to choose. Would he confront our united front or back down against the awakening storm? "Leave, while you still can," Vera said firmly, her voice steady and unwavering. But instead of retreating, he smirked, amusement darkening his features. "You think you've won? This isn't over." With a final glare, he stepped back, retreating into the shadows, as the storm rumbled above us, and the rain fell like an orchestra of tears, washing away remnants of fear. In that moment, I knew we had faced something much bigger than just a man. We had faced our shared pasts and the need to honor Clara's memory. Together, we would continue this journey, unlocking secrets in solidarity until her truth breathed again across the world. And as we realized the strength that bound us together, I breathed out the quiet words I needed to say: "We will honor her." This is just the beginning, and for the first time, I am not alone. With our hearts steeled and purpose illuminated, we descended from the rooftop, ready to discover the truths that linked us all together, ready to celebrate Clara's legacy, and the spirit of hope intertwined forever.